and we're here to talk about Richard Dawkins' new book, The Magic of Reality.
Subtitle:
How We Know What's Really True.
And we're excited about introducing you to this book today because we see it has really broad implications for society. Part of the reason we're doing this as a video instead of one of our usual audio podcasts is that this book is richly illustrated.
Yeah, Dave McKean is the illustrator for this, and throughout the book, the illustrations are phenomenal. They just bring to life Richard's words, and Richard really writes for a young audience, but really any age. Anybody who's 10 years old and older will love this book, both the words and the illustrations. And I think the most important thing that I want to say during this introduction to this book is that I think more suffering in the world results from people who are out of touch with reality. It's almost like we're in the midst of a collective insanity, where normally when you think of the word insane, it's the inability to distinguish the inner interpretive world from the outer real world, the measurable world, the objective reality and subjective reality. And when you can't distinguish those two, you become a danger to yourself and others. That's the definition of insanity. And there are billions of people in the world today who can't distinguish that because in part they've never had the outer world, the objective reality, shown to them with the kind of majesty and magic and soul-nourishing, heart-touching, inspirational quality that the ancient myths have had and that the religious traditions offer. And so what Richard's done is provided a way of addressing many of the core questions that kids and adults have always asked, and then provides a multiplicity of mythic ways that traditional cultures have answered those that clearly are inspiring, clearly touch some deep part of us, and then compares that to how we really know this now and how we've come to know this, both the evidence and what we in fact know through science. But he does it in a way that helps us really experience the magic of reality.
Now, not surprisingly, Richard is taking some heat for this book. It's very bold. It's necessary in what we're doing. And as we introduce it to you, you're going to see why. So we're going to begin by giving you an introduction to the titles of the chapters here in the table of contents. We'll also then give you a couple paragraphs that we're going to recite for you that give the crucial foreground for what this book is really doing. So Michael, let's read the titles.
What is reality? What is magic?
Chapter 2, who was the first person?
Chapter 3, why are there so many different kinds of animals?
Chapter 4, what are things made of?
Chapter 5, why do we have night and day, winter and summer?
Chapter 6, what is the sun?
Chapter 7, what is the rainbow?
Chapter 8, when and how did everything begin?
Chapter 9, are we alone?
Chapter 10, what is an earthquake?
Chapter 11, why do bad things happen?
And finally, Chapter 12, what is a miracle? So we're going to begin by reading from Chapter 1, what is reality, what is magic, and specifically starting at this subsection titled Science and the Supernatural, Explanation and its Enemy. Michael and I are going to alternate reading the first 5 paragraphs or so.
Each chapter of this book is going to be about one particular aspect of reality. The sun, for instance, or earthquakes, or rainbows, or the many different kinds of animals. I want to now turn to the other key word of my title, magic. Magic is a slippery word. It is commonly used in 3 different ways, and the first thing I must do is distinguish between them. I'll call the first one supernatural magic, the second one stage magic, and the third one, which is my favorite meaning and the one I intend in my title, poetic magic.
Supernatural magic is the kind of magic we find in myths and fairy tales. In miracles, too, though I shall leave those to one side for now and return to them in the final chapter. It's the magic of Aladdin's lamp, of Wizard's spell, of the Brothers Grimm, of Hans Christian Andersen, and of J.K. Rowling. It's the fictional magic of a witch casting a spell and turning a prince into a frog, or a fairy godmother changing a pumpkin into a gleaming coach. These are the stories we all remember with fondness from our childhood, and many of us still enjoy when served up in a traditional Christmas pantomime, but we all know this kind of magic is just fiction and does not happen in reality.
Stage magic, by contrast, really does happen, and it can be great fun. Or at least something really happens, though it isn't what the audience thinks it is. A man on a stage, usually it's a man for some reason, so I shall say he, but you can insert she if you prefer, deceives us into thinking that something astonishing, it may even seem supernatural, has happened when what really has happened was something quite different.
The third meaning of magic is the one I mean in my title, Poetic Magic. We are moved to tears by a beautiful piece of music, and we describe the performance as magical. We gaze up at the stars on a dark night with no moon and no city lights, and, breathless with joy, we say the sight is pure magic. We might use the same word to describe a gorgeous sunset, or an alpine landscape, or a rainbow against a dark sky.
In this sense, magical simply means deeply moving, exhilarating, something that gives us goosebumps, something that makes us feel more fully alive. What I hope to show you in this book is that reality, the facts of the real world as understood through the methods of science, are magical in this third sense, the poetic sense, the good to be alive sense.